in this class, and next week is going to be a little discombobulated with all this ISEP testing. It's going to fly by, so the test is going to be here before we know it. There'll be some days I won't even see you. So let's make the most of our time together. So here we go. We are now on the back of the first page. And we're going to write a couple more equations, and then we're going to go on to the part that you just took the quiz over. Okay? Jonathan? Yeah. I know. That's about what... I hate to, like, take stuff away from you, but really, stop it. Can you turn that on? Okay. All right, so here we go. Now we're going to write the equation of a hyperbola. Now, the format that you're going to use for a hyperbola is exactly the same as the format you're using for an ellipse, except for one thing. What's the one thing? Minus. Otherwise, it's identical. This is exactly what you do with an ellipse. Now, they tell me that the center is at -1, 6. They tell me it opens vertically. So there's the center, so it opens vertically. It looks like this. Does that make sense to everybody? Yep. Yes. Now, what does the fact that it opens vertically tell me? What? Y comes first. So Y comes first. And that means when I go to put in my center, be careful. -6 plus 1. Perfect. Now, what else do they tell me? The transverse axis is 16. Okay, now I don't have a very good picture here, but I don't need one. The transverse axis is 16. So what does that tell me? First of all, it's going to be going up and down, because that's where my vertices are. And I'm going to go up and down 8. So there's a 64 under the Y. Right? Now, what else do they tell me? The conjugate axis is 12. That means that I am going sideways 6, which means under X is a 36, and you're done. Okay, that's not hard. You got to remember some stuff, but it's not too bad. Now we have a hyperbola. So we got the same format going on here. Something squared over something. Something squared over something equals 1. So that's what we're going to fill in. And the transverse is -1, -1, and 3, -1. Now stop right there. That's the transverse axis. So that means what? These are the vertices. Which means what? In the equation, X is first. We're problem solving. Right? Okay, now let's see. The endpoints of the conjugate axis are 1, 2, and 1, -4. So here is my transverse axis, and here is my conjugate axis. Where do they intersect? At the center, right? Won't that be the center? And what is that? 1, -1? And I can find that many ways. One way I could find that is by just using my picture, my graph paper. Another way I can find it is to do midpoint, because isn't the center the middle of these 2 points? So I can do an average. But anyhow, it's 1, -1. So X -1 plus 1, does that look okay? Now, Althea, I got to figure out what goes in these denominators, right? So how do I do that? What do I think about? Yep. So tell me how much that is. What are you counting? Okay, so the whole distance is 4, which means what are we doing from the center? We're going forward and backward 2, which means under x, because that was sideways, under x would be 4. Is that good with everybody? Now, let's do the same thing here. How far up and down am I counting? 3, which means under y must be a 9. What are you doing? He's sitting there right there in the front row. You're not even trying to hide it. I mean, this wasn't even. You know, you better not get 4 more detentions because I don't want you back in Saturday school.
Twice. 2.
All right, here we go. Now we're done with the hyperbola. We're going for the parabola. So here comes the parabola. Now, this one is a little bit trickier. Remember, the equation of a parabola looks different. Now listen to me. You need to get that format down. If you can't remember the format, look at question 3 on the test, or practice test. Look at question 3. That's a parabola. So that's what you want your equation to look like, okay? So take a clue from the other test questions. That's what you want it to look like. Now, what do we know? This is G. We have a vertex at 4, 5. Now that is the vertex. And we have a focus at 4, 7. Somebody tell me about that parabola.
It's up.
It's
X
up.
goes first.
It's up. Perfect. It's up. And because it's up, x is the one being squared. Here are the rules in case you've forgotten them. In a parabola, these are the parabola rules. X squared is up and down. Positive, negative. Y squared is right and left. Positive and negative. Those are the rules for a parabola. So here's the setup. I know it's up. Why is it up? Because there's the focus. The parabola's got to enclose its focus. All right, so now I got to fill some stuff in. What can I fill in? Can I fill in anything? Vertex, that's a gimme. The vertex is 4, 5, so x minus 4, y minus 5. And Quincy says this number is an 8. And he's exactly right. How did he know that? This number right here is always 4p. This is p. How far up did we go? What is that distance? We went up 2. So if p, this distance right here is 2, then in the equation we're going to put 8. 4p goes in the equation. Always. 4p goes in the equation. Got it? Ooh. All right, the last equation, h. Oh, this one's a little bit different. Format will be the same. Format will be something squared equals something times something not squared. The focus is at 2, negative 6. This is the focus. And the directrix is y equals negative 2. This is not the vertex. This is the focus. The parabola opens around its focus. So tell me what you can, just looking at that picture, what do you think? Which way does it open? Down. It has to open down. Because somewhere in here is the vertex, it has to enclose its focus. Now, why doesn't it open up? Well, because if it opened up, the focus would be outside, right? Why doesn't it open left? Because then the parabola would run into the directrix. And remember, when you draw the parabola, the directrix is always away from it. No matter which way it opens, the directrix is away from it. Beautiful picture. Now, what's squared, X or Y? I just erased the rules. Did anybody write them down? X is squared. And because it's going down, that number is going to be negative.
Alright.
Now, on test day, somebody's going to put a 2 and a 6 in here. And I'm going to have to take out my pen and mark it off and write some snide comment. Because why? This is not the vertex. So it doesn't go in the equation. This goes in the equation. What is that point? 2, negative 4. How in the world did Quincy figure that out? Do you remember that the vertex is the same distance to the directrix as it is to the focus? So you gotta be somewhere where negative 2 is the top and negative 6 is the bottom. What is the average of negative 2 and negative 6? Negative 4. Add them and divide by 2. Negative 4. So x minus 2, y plus 4. The only thing left to figure out is that number up there. What do you think this time? You think it's a 4? You think it's an 8? What do you think? Let's vote. Is it 4 or 8? 8. It's 8 again. It's not always 8. It just happens to be 8 in both of my examples. It is 8 because what's this distance? 2. If P is 2, then 4P is 8. Good? All right. Now here comes the part that you ought to be experts on. There's only 4 more questions, and we're done. So what are the 4 questions? Here we go. Number 2, find the center and the radius. I think everybody in this room can do that, right? Would you do it for me real quick? Find the center and the radius. You guys almost always get these right. So I'll do it real quick. You do it, and we'll see if we get the same answer. We're finding the center and the radius. If you have an issue, raise your hand and I'll come around. Let me get it up here on the board first, and then I'll come around. You've got a question. Anybody have an issue? Please don't just copy mine down. I'm not going to give you the answer on the test. Okay with that one? Yeah. All right. Are you sure? Everybody's good. Circles, no issues. We got this ace. All right. Now let's go on to the next one, which is your parabola. All right, let's fill in the blanks. Here we go. Remember, this is the one where the top and bottom are no-brainers. What's the vertex? Negative 6, 1. Everybody gets points for that. And everybody should get the focal width. What's the focal width?
24.
24. All right, now the rest of it's a little bit harder. So we need to figure out which way it opens. All right, so pay attention. What's being squared?
Y.
Y. Side.
Is that your phone again?
iPad.
Okay, well, just stop.
I'm not.
Which way is it open?
The right.
To the right. How do we know it opens to the right?
24.
It's y squared and 24 is positive, so you're exactly right. To the right we go. Which means that our focus is in here somewhere. Right? What do we know about it? Look there, look at that point. What do we know about that focus?
Got 1.
It's something comma 1, right. Now, in order to find the something, we need to know how many steps we're going to take. Where do we get that? 4p. So in our problem, 4p is 24, so p is 6. So we're going to start right here, and we're going to go forward 6. Where will we be if we go forward 6? We'll be at 0. You will have, your thing will be on graph paper. Did that help, having the quiz on graph paper?
Mm-hmm.
So your test will be that way, so you can just count forward 6, you'd be at 0, 1. Now, if you went forward 6, you're gonna come backward 6. And that, if you looked at this point, you would say, Mrs. Ford, that's the point negative 12, 1. But remember, the directrix is a line, so it's the line that crosses the x-axis at negative 12. So it's x equals negative 12. Okay? Anybody have an issue with that? We'll go over your quizzes next time I see you, on Monday. Maybe? I don't remember. To day 3. We'll go over them when I see you again. Alright, so now we're ready for our ellipse. Alright, tell me what you know about this ellipse. What can you tell me right off the bat?
3, negative 1.
Center is at 3, negative 1. Good. Everybody gets that point. What else can you tell me about it? Yep, I'm going to count 6 to the left and right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Putting me at negative 3, negative 1. Putting me at 9, negative 1. If I go back and forth 6.
Up and down 1.
Up and down just 1. So that would be 3, 0, and 3, negative 2. Connect the dots. Got it? Now, what else can you tell me about it? Look at the blanks you have to fill in. This is the center, it's done. These 4 points are the vertices, we got those. What do we still need? Major and minor, and those are easy. 12 and 2. Don't miss those. Major, we went sideways 6, that makes 12. Minor, we went up and down 1, that makes 2. The tricky one is this focus stuff. I mean these foci. Tell me what you know about these points before we do anything else. What do we know?
Negative 1.
We know they're gonna have a negative 1. Please write that down. Don't leave it blank. at least put that part down. Then what?
Square root.
I gotta figure out what this distance is right here, right? How do I find that distance? Square root, 36 minus 1, which is root 35. Shoot. It's not a whole number, is it?
3 plus.
Exactly, Deshani. So I'm gonna start right here and add, so 3 plus root 35 and 3 minus root 35.
Why do you add 3?
Because that's your starting point. Remember, you're starting already over 3. You're already moved over 3. That's the point 3. You have to go plus root 35, more than that.
So if it wasn't a square root, if it was just a number, then you would just put the number in there?
Yeah, so if that had turned out to be 5, then you would go start at 3, plus 5 would be 8,
Yeah.
minus 5 would be negative 2. All right, Chris, will you hit that? And somebody needs to remind me that we still have to do